Look at all these large lumps. So these are all going to be cooked up into, well, these things. The enhanced Galgadorian metal. 9 of these makes a block. We need a lot of blocks. I already calculated it out. This is exactly how much we need to make one of these. Look at all these. So many blocks. 28, I think. 28 blocks. Once this is done, we have the entire outer 2 rings completed. Then we just have the inner 2. As you can tell by my chat, I have been killing dragons. We now have 8 dragon hearts lined up and ready to go. 24 is... how many? That's 6. 6 and 8 is 14. We still have 4 more dragons to kill, which is not that many. Yeah. So, let's get these cooked up. Once they're done, I'll make them into blocks. There it is. 28 enhanced Galgadorian blocks. Very nice. So, in terms of draconium, last episode I said we're going to make a automated system for making thaumium. I already did that. Here it is right here. It is a alchemical construct. So I have the system exporting fragantio into this water jar, a pipe connected to the water jar going into the alchemical construct, and all I basically do is take some mana steel and drop it in here, click that, and it goes. This is pretty neat. We now have, I think, a decent amount of thaumium, 157 thaumium left, but this is a lot easier than dropping mana steel into a crucible by hand. Much easier. Alright, here's the last bit of supplies I need. These are going to become quite a few charged, awakened draconium blocks. About 48 of them it should be. And just the long, tedious process of making these things. Alright, so got all of those awakened draconium blocks I need. Now the next thing is these awakened cores take 4 ingots around the outside. Bedrockium we can make. Takes a little while, but we can make it. Iridium, it's actually better to get from the iridium ore that we have laser drilled instead of, I think the intended way is to compress iridium ore. It's a little bit more expensive. But we have iridium ore, so we're going to use it. Terrasteel. So terrasteel we can make. It takes a long time. It's a pain in the butt. It's basically drop some items on the ground and wait 3 minutes for each one. But we can get it. And then the only one left is voidmetal. And I have yet to discover voidmetal in Thaumcraft, so you have to do that. But focusing on the terrasteel, we still have this set up. I have it running right now. I'm pretty sure we're maxed out on mana. And it keeps doing this thing where it breaks. I have to re-trigger it. And then the items miss. Oh, no, they didn't. I have 3 droppers with a mana pearl, terrasteel, and getting a mana diamond. Mana steel and a mana diamond that drop them all in. And then when it gets picked up by the transfer node, it'll emit a signal which will drop another set. Kinda works because the thing doesn't always like to fire. But I'm working on this thing right now. This is basically going to be the new mana pool I use, because that section is pretty much going to be restricted to terrasteel. I've concluded either that or we'll make this section restricted to terrasteel, and that one we'll do other stuff with. Depends on how it works out. But if you remember back a little while ago, I made a small system using these thermalilies, where every 6 minutes a lava bucket would drop, giving it to the thermalily, and it would, from there, produce mana. And, yeah, it worked. I've increased the system. We now have 8 thermalilies here. The position of the thermalilies relative to the droppers is actually really important, because they will pick up lava buckets in any of the 8 tiles around them. So this one will pick up any in this square, and it's really important that every thermalily can only access one of the lava sources. Otherwise, it could pick up both of them, and there's a lava bucket gone to waste. So this one can only get this one can only get that one, so on and so forth. Then I have Gaia mana spreaders. So before we had the Elven mana spreaders, which I have down here. Oh, it started. Oh, I was going to show you this. This is what I'm using to store the mana. It's kind of cool looking. Basically, it's a bunch of mana spreaders and distributors that just back up a bunch of pools and eventually progress them all down to the end here. But I have Gaia mana spreaders here because Elven mana spreaders cannot support a single thermalily, whereas Gaia mana spreaders can support 2. So that's the reason for that. Yeah, so those just produced from the lava. So let me show you how the system works real quick. I got a retrieval node here set to retrieve buckets from the system. For some reason these didn't go off. There they did. They already refilled. Cool. It's working that fast. Set to retrieve buckets from this upper pipe, so it'll pull buckets out of the dispensers. And then down below here, you can't see it, but I have an item node. And underneath here, I have hyper rationing pipes. These basically ensure that only one lava bucket ends up in each dispenser. And then I have a timer set to 350 seconds. It's 45 seconds to use, 5 minutes to recharge, which is 345. I just added an extra minute because why not? An extra 5 seconds just to be safe. So I have a Gaia mana spreader per 2 thermalilies. These 2 go down to this middle one. Those 2 go down to the side ones. And then from here, these mana pools go into the spreader, which goes into the distributor, which goes into these. And from there, it just spreads and distributes all the way down. So once these pools back up or fill up, these pools right here will start backing up. And we'll kind of see this whole thing kind of fill up like a progress bar, where these first pools will fill up, these first pools will fill, and then it'll start working all the way down. And of course, this system's easily expandable once I have this machine thing over here, and all it is a pump over a serenade of the nether to get infinite lava into the fluid transposer. So that's how the system works. It's pretty straightforward. I might consider expanding it, but from here we do need a few more mana spreaders to direct it to a single point. So if you've watched my TechNode for Minecraft Let's Play, you may know that steel scaffolding has been replacing my micro blocks, and I'm not quite sure why. Well, it happened here too. This time, I believe I had a mana glass cover being replaced by an endothermic pump cover. And this is really weird because endothermic pumps are actually uncraftable. There's no crafting recipe for an endothermic pump. So this is 1/8 of an uncraftable item. Obviously, I didn't place this here. It was some invalid ID that turned it into this. It's weird. If I get 8 more of these, I can get an unobtainable item in this game. Not that it really matters. Like I have this. It's not going to do anything different. But if I get one, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, so there is my thermalily farm. It's still like 2 minutes out from firing again. And this will just continuously run and get mana that I'll mostly be using to make most of my terrasteel and that kind of thing. Not terrasteel, mana steel. Mana steel, mana diamonds. Maybe I'll have a runic altar there. So yeah, look at this. Nothing in here. Still outputs. That's the problem with this system. But it works. Somewhat. So yes, I need to get about a stack of terrasteel. And then we're going to do some Thaumcraft research to figure out how to get voidmetal. And that'll be good. So it looks like in order to get to voidmetal, I actually have to get lots of warp to unlock the Eldritch tab of this book, which isn't here. So, yeah. I'm basically looking at all the research I can find that gives me warp. And there's not much left, but I'm finding some here and there. If I can get to that one. Okay. This one. Yeah, so I'm just... Jeez. It's a big one. So I'm just doing some research, getting some warp, and hopefully we can get voidmetal soon before we start getting negative warp effects. I start to get worried if this isn't getting me close. Still nothing. I do still have this thing. Click to study it. Ooh. Hey, we got Eldritch. There we go. Now we have some unnatural hunger. That's fun. I'm not hungry. I can't have unnatural hunger. I have saturation 3. Oh well. There we go. We now have voidmetal. Void seed and 8 metal. Okay. What's a void seed? Okay. Bit of annoying crafting, but doable. Where's my saturation? Okay, I got Tenebrae, Vacuos, and Alienus hooked up to a pipe. I kind of want to see if this works. Click. Make the thing. Make happen. What does the glowing mean? Oh, I'm gonna select that one, select this one. Hey, there it is. That did it. Cool. So that'll work. Just throw in some seeds and we'll get the thingy. Not sure what this means. I think it's leaking. I think that means it's like leaking or something. Or it's jammed. I don't know. Hopefully it's not a problem. Okay, so a bit of rearranging of the terrasteel machine. So I changed out the middle mana spreaders for Gaia mana spreaders, mostly because these outer ones couldn't actually hit. This one right here, for instance, is hitting these blocks in front of it and not getting there. So these outer mana pools weren't getting used at all. It was just using the center ones. So what I do instead is I had the outer mana spreaders pointing to this extra one I added, which points to the center spreader. So these center spreaders are taking in mana from like 5 different places and all redirecting it towards the center. For some reason, this one over here still hits. In terms of the comparator not refreshing, I put a redstone clock here, and all that really does is refresh the timer, or like update it. Really? And I just tried to fix a problem, but obviously my fix didn't work. I put a block here. Where's the pearl? I have no idea where the pearl is. Oh, it must be in this spot right here. Yeah, obviously needs a little bit more work. But what was happening is things were jumping out. So what I did is I added a vacuum hopper down here. How did this end up in there? Must have gone like around or something. And the idea is things will get like sucked towards the center. Like if I drop these down, they'll get pulled into the center. I think I have to cover up this hole, and maybe here, with some... Actually, I can just do that right now. I'll use something a little bit prettier like iron ore. I can't cut iron ore. Why? Then I could just put cover here. This one will have to be a little bit higher, but that's fine. Ah, not there. And that should hopefully keep everything. If it does happen to jump out of the center, it'll end up on this upper ring and get pulled in anyway, which will keep it going. Other than that, I just have to make sure items don't fall in there, because this is actually just a blacklist to not pick up the items that make it. So if I drop like a dirt in there, it'll assume that... Didn't mean to click. It'll assume that it finished. So yeah. Working well. Still got like 10 more to go, 20 more to go. Just time pretty much. This thing up here is still burning through coal. How much coal do I have at this point? 852. Yeah, I have not decreased in my coal count. My coal count's gone up. I started with like 600k. Yeah. Going well. Looking good. Moving on. So while the terrasteel's off there being made, I thought I'd just look through some other stuff. While I was researching in the Thaumonomicon, I came across a blood wand core and alchemical cap. So the blood wand core, this is really cool. Obviously, I have a rather beastly blood magic setup. If you haven't seen it, you should check those out. There's a big spider farm. It's rather beastly. And the wand will refill itself using LP from its owner's network. So it will use that giant spider farm to refill itself, which is pretty cool. And the alchemical caps just kind of benefit that. So I'm giving up my master blood orb. It's the only one I have because I've only gotten one eldritch eye. Giving it up to make a alchemical, a blood rod. The blood rod I'm making. And then the gold caps and the magicales will become the caps. Yes. Like that. Cool. And just this. Kinda slow. Does that have to be my inventory though? That's the question. Will it refill from like in here? Ooh, it doesn't. It is much less exciting than I thought it'd be. Apparently it has to be in your inventory for it to work. Interesting. How about in here? Nope. Okay, so the terrasteel is finito. It is all done. Sometimes it gets off, but I have the stack that I need. I can turn the system off. Voidmetal is all done. I think I might have already showed that. Yeah, the voidmetal is all done. And what that means now is we need bedrockium and iridium. So for the iridium ingots, I'm not going to be compressing iridium. I'm going to be using the stuff I got from the laser drill, which is still over here. We have to move all this stuff out. So 20 iridium ore and 8 nether iridium ore. So the best way to do this is actually with cinnabar in an induction smelter. Cinnabar and iridium ore makes 4 ingots 100% of the time. So cinnabar, I have like 50. Nether iridium ore, you induction smelt with slag, and you get 3 iridium ore. So nether iridium ore is worth 12 iridium ingots. So we got plenty. I'm not too worried about our iridium supply. Yeah, easy mode. So that leaves the last one, and probably the hardest, I'd say. 64 bedrockium. So the intended way of getting bedrockium is you smelt Mox nuclear fuel. Unfortunately, that takes 3 plutonium, and plutonium is tough to come by. So instead, ooh, losing my voice. Instead, I have the replicator making bedrockium using UU matter that's coming from this thing. If you notice, I did expand this. I more than doubled the amount of recyclers in here. We now should have approximately 240 recyclers. Yes, that's right. Because it's 5, 5, 5, 5 is 20 by 12 long, 240 recyclers, 2 mass fabricators run it at max efficiency, constantly full of scrap, and the scrap number is increasing. So I could probably even add a third. But this is producing more UU matter because I just sucked up like 32 buckets worth. So this did go down a bunch, but hopefully it'll continue to rise back up. Each bedrockium takes exactly 727.8 millibuckets. So a stack takes a lot of millibuckets, like 50 buckets of this stuff, which isn't too bad. The only last thing I need is time. So although it does say that it takes 0 EU, it still drains power, and there is a max rate on how much UU matter it could suck up. I'm assuming it can't take overclockers, so I might get some overclockers in here and try that. Do I have any? I do not have any in the system. I'll have to go make some or steal some from another machine. I'll try throwing some overclockers in here and see if that works, because this system has plenty of power. It's still being converted from up here, and this thing has plenty of nether stars. I'm not worried about running out of nether stars. This thing should be able to keep pumping out UU matter for a long time. Yeah, that definitely works. Drains a heck of a lot of power, though. It's weird because it said it doesn't drain power. So unfortunately, that bedrock is going to take quite some time. Probably somewhere around an hour and a half. So I'm going to have to end the episode here. Next time, we'll be finishing up the draconic flux capacitors. And that'll be 3 layers done. Outer, second, and third, the middle layer. Will all be done for the creative energy cell. All we'll have left is these quantum solar panels. Kind of worried how bad these are going to be. I think it's just going to be a bunch of auto crafting. I haven't really looked into it very much, but I think it's just lots of processing of simple ores. Like lots and lots of coal and iron and stuff. I'm not sure. That's what I'm hoping. So we'll look into that next time. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye-bye.